Brought to you by Curious Maryland. In the past, I've done a Characteristics of Living Things mini project. And this year, I did it again, and I got some great student results. So I want to do kind of a repeat video from last year where I show you some student work, and all of them really did a really good job. Again, first, these are the baseline notes that I give them. 7 characteristics. If you're familiar with biology, some will actually make this into an 8 and a 9 instead of 7, or they'll just say stimulus is theirs. But I have my reasons for doing this. So they get the basic notes, and then they get the handout. They can use resources that I provide for them online, not through our Schoology course. And there's also notes, and I have textbooks that they can use. But for each of the characteristics that they have to do, so of my 7, they have to pick 5 of them. They have to tell me the name. They have to tell me an explanation of the characteristic and a representative drawing. So what I want to do is show you, well, first, here's some of the boxes. Here they are, here they are. And show you how they really thought outside the membrane. So this one was really big. They gave you some really good stuff. And so I'm not going to narrate every single one of the boxes, just show you some examples and show you how they use things to help show the characteristic. So if you're a teacher, by the way, if you do this, you might get some tissues out of this. I ended up getting like 17. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't have to be a tissue box. This student just made it all the characters. They did it on one sheet of paper and made kind of a grid. All right. Some did it on flashcards. So this is metabolism. I really stress this thing, GUPE, get, use, process, energy, something that is really good. Here's another one. So one thing about this previous students, they did a description, and then they did a card. So they kind of did it pretty cool. They talked about autotrophs and heterotrophs. That's kind of cool. All right. Now, this is another one. So they gave me DNA. And if you flip over their cards here, they actually was talking about how heredity goes with DNA. And so you kind of have to look at the cards like sexual reproduction, asexual reproduction. This was a really good one to show. They show autotrophs and heterotrophs. And of course, they can have their written information on the other card. I like this one. Homeostasis, balance. I keep saying homeostasis, balance, internal regulation. So I'm going to come back to the boxes in a second. There are some digital options that I gave them. So this one, this student for growth and development, they actually gave a growth pattern data. They show a plant growing. All right. Multicellular, unicellular, showing a bacteria. Asexual and sexual reproduction. Response, whether it's long-term or short-term, or long-term in evolution is what they were focusing on. Homeostasis. All right. And of course, they had their credits. Now, one of the things that I also required the students to show their sources, but so here's another digital one. I like this one. I like to select all of them. They all did a really good job. So unicellular versus multicellular, homeostasis, internal balance, reproduction, sexual and asexual reproduction, growth and development. And they my camera out of the way and come back to that. So they show tadpole growing into this, the little thing everyone does in plants. And then, of course, metabolism. So let's go ahead and go back to the camera and show some of the other works here. This one, I asked them to, do their characteristics, but don't cover up this. A couple times kids would put something over here and we have to rip it off. So we don't want to lose that. So, I mean, it's from pretty, okay, let's shrink down so we can see. So here's cells. They show multicellular, unicellular, really good descriptions. Heredity, homeostasis. All right, that's a good one. This one, they put a tree on top to show growth and development for the tree. And they had a really good metabolism. And they show the food being used by you. All right, that's good. Now, for Fort Cell organization, this student showed it, but then they also went big picture from atom to all the way to organism to organization of life, ecosystem to biosphere, the whole planet. So I thought that was really creative. This student really, you can tell they put some time into it. Reproduction, and they did a little outline, really good. Nice heredity, responsiveness, okay, reproduction, metabolism, okay. Now, this student decided to do a theme. For every single one of theirs, they did something bird related, which is, again, when you get the kids to think outside the membrane, so to speak, it's always great. Give them some baseline knowledge and let them run with it. It's always very rewarding. So they got reproduction. So here's heredity of this bird. Here's metabolism of this bird. Here's responsive, running away from a predator. I think it did heredity, and they picked metabolism. Oh, and homeostasis. All right. Two more. And then I have my exposure one. So this one, they really went all out on growth and development. Growth and development. Let's put the mouse out of the way. So for homeostasis, they gave us, they talked about pH, they talked about temperature, they talked about monitoring blood sugar. I thought that was pretty cool. Pretty good for heredity. And let's see what else. I did responsiveness, I think, with them already. All right. Okay. Who rules your body? Your stomach. Don't get hangry. All right. And we got growth and development. This one, they showed a lot of different aspects of growth and development. All right. Homeostasis. Trying to make sure it stays in here. All right. Let's see what else. All right. Reproduction. That's actually reproduction and a little bit of heredity. So they chose metabolism. And then what I like is getting food, using food, processing, right? Turning food into energy, right? I've given my students the note, get, use, process, energy, coupe. And so they kind of wrote down those notes. All right. Lastly, 3 characteristics. All right. Not 3, but the characteristics. Metabolism, growth. Well, actually, they gave me something else. They 3D printed some things. So, all right. I think you can kind of guess this right here is different trees at different stages of their life. So that's their growth and development. First, they also did cells. I'm going to move growth and development out of the way. Cells. And they put a eukaryotic cell. You can actually see a nuclear membrane. It looks like endoplasmic reticulum and some mitochondria. Now, this was their metabolism. And basic growth being incorporated into a skull. So that one's stretch. DNA, they give a DNA model. And then we were all like, what do you mean by this? And this is what he meant by this. Balance. This is his homeostasis. Of course, we still think it looks like Batman, poor dinosaur. All right. So that's pretty much it. Brought to you by Curious Brainland. And I just want to encourage any teachers, if you want outside the membrane thinking, give them a chance to run with some information and do something with it. And they always will deliver. If you trust the kids to do it, they'll do it.